Last night, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese spoke passionately in support of the Voice to Parliament. He said the voice will be a symbol for change, a symbol of hope, and not one of fear. He told the Adelaide crowd that he doesn't think the fearmongers opposing the voice will win.
Australians won't succumb to their appeals to fear and their even more ludicrous invitations to jump at our own shadows. That's because Australians have a healthy scepticism of doomsayers, a scepticism kept in good health by memories of all the predictions offered by the Chicken Littles of the past.
All right, let's bring in Nationals leader David Littleproud now. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Look, what's your response to Anthony Albanese's comments last night? Are you a chicken little?
Oh, look, I think it's beholden on all political leaders to keep a level of civility. That was puerile. This is a very serious question that Anthony Albanese is asking the Australian people to consider. And there are risks. There are significant risks. You only have to look at the eminent lawyers from both sides, both the yes and no, that are saying that this will end up in the High Court. And ultimately, if there are two lawyers with differing opinions, the only arbiter of that is always a court. So it is without doubt we're going to end up in court on this. But there's also doubt about the model that's being put up because the Prime Minister won't bring the Australian people into his trust. He could take away a lot of the risk away from this in the Australian people's mind by putting the legislation that he intends to put in front of the Parliament about the mechanics of how the voice would operate, its remit, and make sure that the Australian people have that information before they are to cast their vote. If the Prime Minister was to take them into his trust, then there may be a different tone in the conversation. But there is a need for all political leaders to show the respect to the Australian people, that this is a serious question that we are being asked, and all the information should be there so you can make an informed decision in a respectful way.
All right. Look, it looks like there's also disagreement on the no side. Opposition leader Peter Dutton wants the claim that the voice will re-racialise Australia to be included in the referendum pamphlet. You say you don't want that to be included, re-racialise. Why is that?
Well, I understand the intent, but what we want to make sure is the tone to the Australians in particular, who haven't made their mind up and in particular haven't understood any of this or even know that it's about what it's about. It's important that we strike the right tone with them, and it doesn't move away from the key tenet that the Nationals have always had, is that all 26 million Australians are equal in this country. All 26 million Australians have a voice in this Parliament, an equal voice in this Parliament through the 227 voices that are elected in the Senate and the House of Representatives. And our nation should be proud of the fact that we've elected 11 Indigenous Australians to this Parliament, not to represent Indigenous Australians, but to represent all Australians.
So how will you come to an agreement? How will you come to an agreement with Peter Dutton on what wording is going in there from the no side?
Well, what will happen after the vote tomorrow, those that vote no to the legislation of this question, of this change to the Constitution, will form a committee to put a set of words together in the no pamphlet. Now, I understand that the Liberal Party will have people on that committee, and it's important they do. And so we will work constructively, as Peter and I always have, through this whole process. So look, I'm not challenging his intent. I'm just, the wording is important that we set the tone as political leaders, that we convince those that it's okay to vote no. If you don't know, vote no, and it's okay if you do so.
All right. Look, I just want to ask you about another topic. Liberal MP Bridget Archer is calling for a drastic shake-up to the coalition. What's your response to all of this? Do you think, I mean, it's interesting because actually the Nationals did better than the Liberal Party at the last federal election.
Yeah, well, look, the one thing I would agree with Bridget Archer on this is that we're not the LNP. We are two sovereign parties that have different values and principles. But what Peter Dutton and I have been able to do is create an environment where that difference can come through and is respected. Now, the Nationals got to a position on the no case 7 months ago, but I respected the fact, and Peter respected the fact that we got to that position, but I respected the fact that if the Liberals didn't get to that position, that was okay. the diversity of our party room and the leadership and the relationship that Peter and I have can diverge at times, that respects our two values and principles of our two parties. And so much so is that Peter was pragmatic enough to say that instead of working off quotas of numbers between the number of Nationals and the number of Liberals, that there should be so many frontbenchers, that for the betterment of the coalition and for the betterment of our nation, that we appointed Jacinta Nampijinpa-Price as the Indigenous Affairs spokesman who sits in the Nationals party room, because that's the right thing to do. That's the maturity of relationship Peter and I have. And if the Liberal Party disagree with us, that's okay. That's a good thing in our democracy that our parties can do that. Because I suspect if you actually gave many Labor MPs a vote, I think if you scratch the surface, there'll be a few that would like to vote no in this upcoming referendum, but don't have the courage nor conviction to do it because they know there'll be consequences from the Labor Party if they break ranks.
Yeah, and not just politicians. I'm sure there's a lot of Australians who will be, keeping it quiet which way they decide to vote. David Littleproud, thank you very much for your time.